Today, we're going to talk about how to sell more art at art shows and art openings. I'm Eric Rhoads, and I want you to get your unfair share of business when you're at an art show, making good use of it. So hang in there. We're going to wait for the audience to come on board here for a second, and then we are going to get started. Hang with me. We're going to start in a second. When we're live, we want to wait for some folks to come on board so they can see it from the beginning. So hang in there. I'm going to talk about how to sell more art at art shows and openings and art fairs, how to get your unfair share. I appreciate your patience. Okay, here we go. I'm Eric Rhoads, publisher of Fine Art Connoisseur and Plein Air Magazine, plus newsletters, Plein Air Today, Fine Art Today, Realism Today, and American Watercolor. And every day now for 118 days, I've been standing here or standing somewhere and trying to keep you guys focused on getting better at your art, learning something new, maybe trying art for the first time. I've been giving you art lessons every day. We have examples every day at 3 p.m. of the many hundreds of art instructional videos that we've produced. And so we've been giving those to you during this quarantine time. Of course, we're all in a different boat, but a lot of us are staying home. And so I understand it's pretty alarming, pretty crazy. Today's supposed to be a big crazy day with announcements. I'm not sure what that's all about, but we'll learn more as the day goes by. Anyway, I try to stay away from anything that is polarizing. I don't want to talk about things that are going to upset you guys. I want to just have fun and enjoy life, and I try not to do doom scrolling. I did a little bit of it last night. It was a bad idea. So because it just hurts my brain, and so I try to just stay off of all the different social media, other than just kind of a quick hello and then get to it. So today we're going to talk about how to sell more art at art shows and art openings and gallery opens and things like that. So we'll get to that in a minute. First off, I want to tell you that today we have a 3 p.m. video with Amory Bowling, Seascape Painting Secrets. And that's a really terrific video. You can see it. Hang on a second. Let me get to you. Maybe. You'd think I'd be prepared. Okay, so that's what you're going to see. This painting, how to do that painting. And I watched her do this, and it's absolutely incredible. Now, Amory is also known as a Grand Canyon painter, but she does so much beautiful work. She has a gallery in Scottsdale. As a matter of fact, I was in Scottsdale in March, maybe May, March, April, February. I don't know. Anyway, it was, I went there for a David LaFell workshop with David and Sherry. And then I stopped in, I saw Amory, I saw her art gallery on the main street there in Scottsdale. She does beautiful work. You're going to learn a lot from Amory. She's a great teacher, and that's today at 3 o'clock. She's going to go through her process of how she created this composition, how she went out and did it in plein air, how she converted it to a much different studio painting, and so on. So that's today at 3 o'clock at Streamline Art Video on YouTube and Facebook. So just go to @Streamline Art Video to find it. Okay, so today we have some prizes. First off, yesterday I announced we're giving away a Fine Art Connoisseur magazine subscription, both a digital and a non-digital, a print one. And so the digital winner is Jeanette Vermeiden Obing in Paris, Ontario. So thumbs up and congrats for Jeanette, and thumbs ups and congrats for Frederick Holman in Brant Lake, New York. I know Frederick because he comes to the Adirondack event every year, and it was supposed to start next week. And of course, we had to cancel it. Seems like the thing we're having to cancel things a lot lately. I mean, you think about this. My living typically comes from art events and the magazine advertising, some subscription income, and then video sales. Thankfully, I have a little bit of spread, what they call diversity. But it's interesting because advertising dropped dramatically, even though this is the best possible time to advertise. It dropped dramatically. Events stopped completely. I mean, we had to cancel our annual fine art trip, our collector's trip that we do every year. This year, we were going to be doing Vienna and, I think Berlin. And we had to cancel that and reschedule it for next year. And it's a family of people that get together. We really miss each other because it's, new people every year, but also the family. It's been doing it for 11 years in a row now. And then we had to postpone the plein air convention. And then finally, we had to cancel the plein air convention. I had to, in my radio business, I had to cancel or postpone anyway one of our conferences, and it looks like now it's going to have to be rescheduled again. And then there's just a question about some of the other things. Well, let me tell you this: that we have a big conference coming up in Baltimore. Hang on a second, let me get this stuff off the screen. We have a big conference coming up in Baltimore. It's called the FACE Conference. And we have all these fabulous people, and we are announcing today, you're hearing it first, that we're having to cancel that for this year. We are actually going to cancel it and move it to 2021 in Williamsburg. We're going to go back to Williamsburg because we could get the date. We were going to go back there anyway, so we already had the date, so it worked out. And of course, we're talking to the faculty members now and seeing which ones can and cannot make it. So that's sad news because we never like to have to cancel anything, but you do what you got to do. And that's the name of the game these days. We have to pivot. But the way we have pivoted is we developed Realism Live. Last week, you saw, if you were on, you saw Plein Air Live, which turned out to have a huge number of people on board from all over the world, people watching from 30, 40 countries, people from Europe and South America and Mexico and Saudi Arabia, Egypt, China, everywhere. There are a lot of people watching in a lot of different places. And so it was a stellar experience. You're probably hearing a lot about it. And then we announced that we were going to be doing Realism Live. And Realism Live immediately sold 600 seats because people loved the experience so much. So we announced it to the public yesterday. And so that's going to be growing now from this point forward. So what is Realism Live? Well, this is not realism. This is abstract art, and nothing wrong with it. I'm not dissing it in any way. But realism is about painting realism. So what is realism? Well, this is realism. This is realism. This is realism. This is realism. This or this. And so we have already announced this, and we have a stellar lineup already. First off, we have the amazing Daniel Sprick. And Daniel Sprick did this painting here and many, many others. Just an absolutely incredible artist. And so Daniel Sprick will be on Realism Live. We also have Rose Franson. And Rose Franson did this, and she's incredible. And of course, this week, actually, we're releasing a new portraiture video from Rose Franson. So that's coming out, I think, on Friday. So you'll want to watch for that. We have the incomparable Graydon Parrish, who did the world-famous 9/11 painting. And that painting just is incredible. That painting is about 20 feet long and about, I don't know, probably 10 feet high, 5 feet high, I don't know. And life-size figures anyway. And he's incredible. So we have Graydon Parrish. We also have Joshua LaRock, who did this. This is a picture of Joshua, his self-portrait. I've studied with Joshua, had some great success. We have a video with him. He's fabulous. And we also have Juliet Aristides, who is known for her books and her classical atelier, her incredible drawing and painting. And so that's what Realism Live is going to be about. And Realism Live, remember, is all subjects. It's not just figure and portrait. So it's going to be drawing and painting. You're going to have the human figure. You're going to have florals. This is not necessarily one of our instructors. I just grabbed it. I think that's Katie Whipple, but I may be wrong. We're going to have landscapes. That's Eric Capel. We're going to have still life. That's Todd Casey. I'm going to invite him. I haven't talked to him yet about it. So anyway, that's an overview of Realism Live, and you can just go to realismlive.com and get signed up. The price is going to go up August 30th. We had no idea we were going to hit 600 this quickly. So anyway, you might want to check that out, and that's something that's kind of cool for us. And it's going to help us get through this, of course, because we've had to cancel now the FACE conference. And we still have one more event this year, which is the Fall Color Week event, and we're hoping we don't have to cancel that. Hopefully things will be better, but you never know. And so we're just kind of watch that day by day. So today, what am I giving away today for comments? Today's prizes will be my book, Make More Money Selling Your Art. And this is book. It's an Amazon bestseller, hit #1 Amazon bestseller the first week it was out. So I'm pretty cool. I mean, I thought that was pretty cool. I was pretty proud of that. This is the book that everybody that is trying to learn how to sell art needs to start with. It's, you know, it's a $25, $26 investment, and it will really get you on the right path. So we're going to give that away. We're also going to give away an easel brush clip tomorrow. Easel brush clip attaches to your easel, and it's just something that is a nice, cool tool to make your life a little bit easier. And so I have the brush clip here, right here, and I have the book here. And so the brush clip just clips on to your easel like that. And so tomorrow, this is the prize. Okay. All right. So I'm going to get now to my teaching, because I promised you I'd try to get back to teaching something every day. And I want to fulfill that promise for you and come up with some stuff. So bear with me for just a second, and I'm going to get to my screen here, and we will get this thing rolling. Okay. Now I'm assuming you can see this, and I'm hopeful you can see it. Anyway, we'll find out if you can't. So how to sell more paintings at art shows and art openings, and how to get your, what I say, your unfair share. You know, you don't want to be, if everybody does a lousy job and you get an equal amount, that's not good. How can you stand out? How can you sell more than everybody else? How can you make the show more successful? And so we're going to talk about that. The first thing is, you should never assume the show will provide you your success. You know, we oftentimes will sign on to what I call tent shows, art shows in the streets. There are plein air shows that many of you go to that are drawing audiences. There are gallery shows. And we sometimes assume that it's someone else's job to do all the heavy lifting, to make sure that they get the collectors there, the buyers there. And that is their job to some extent, but never, ever, ever give that up. You want to make sure that you're doing your part, because your goal is to sell more art than anybody else. You're there to make a living. You're there to sell your artwork. You don't want somebody else to be, you want other people to be successful, but you don't want them to be successful and you not to be. So you should never assume it's the show's job to provide you the success. So there's some things you've got to do. Like a wedding planning, you know, when you plan a wedding, if you've planned a wedding, you know, you get engaged, and then, you know, you've got about usually a year or 2 years, depending on your engagement. And now all of a sudden you pick a date. And once you pick a date, then you start talking to caterers and photographers and venues and so on. You pick your venues, you get your contracts done, you know, and then you start, you know, notifying relatives. You send out notifications, you send out invitations, right? And so think of an art show like a wedding. You want to do a lot of advanced planning, even if it's somebody else's responsibility, because that'll make a huge difference in your success. So we'll talk about that a little bit. There are 3 ways to plan for events, and you really need a plan for each of these. I'll get into some of this, but I want you to be thinking in terms of the before, the during, and the after. What are you going to do before the event to make sure that you've planted the right seeds, grown the seeds, watered the soil, make sure that people are coming to the event. What are you going to do during the event that's going to make you stand out? And then the one thing everybody always forgets is the after. You know, we do a lot of issues in Fine Art Connoisseur and Plein Air where we will have a special feature on something. Let's say we're doing a feature on landscape paintings, or, well, let's say it's a feature on bird painters. Okay. So what happens is that people see things in ads. So let's say there's a section on bird painters and you've got an ad because you're a bird painter and you're in that section. So first thing you want to ask yourself is, you know, am I standing out? You know, is my ad smaller or bigger? Is it better? Am I doing something to stand out? But the thing that everybody forgets is that you need reinforcement. After an event, after something special is when you need that reinforcement. I've had this happen so many times to me, and this is where I came up with this, is I remember we did a Art Renewal Center section in our own magazine. Now, I own the magazine, right? So in our own magazine, and I was flipping through it, and I saw a sculpture like a bust from the shoulders up that I said, I need to own that. It is absolutely stunningly beautiful. And I intended to do something about it, but I didn't. I didn't do something about it. And I liked it. I liked the artwork. I wanted to find out the price. And I intended to call or contact the artist, but I didn't. You know, I ended up flipping to another page. Then I forgot about it, right? And then I'm thinking, all right, someday I'll do something about this. And then, you know, 2-3 days later, 2 or 3 weeks later, I'm thinking, where did I see that? And I know it was in Fine Art Connoisseur. I couldn't find my issue. And so, you know, I didn't do anything about it again. And then, you know, a year goes by and I'm thinking, what was the name of that artist? And then I ended up digging through all my old magazines and couldn't find it. And then I contacted our editor, Peter, and I said, do you remember this? He said, yeah, it's in this issue. Then I found the issue. And then I started to do something about it. And I got distracted. And then I never did anything about it. So that's been 2 or 3 years. I never bought that piece of art. And so you want to be thinking about the importance of your after follow-up, because people don't remember your name. They might remember the piece of art. I walked into a gallery 40 years ago, 1980, I think. 80, yeah, whatever. Anyway, I walked into this gallery in Fort Wayne, Indiana. I was there. I was getting married, and I saw this painting, and I so wanted to own that painting, and I didn't have the money, and I cannot get it out of my head to this day. And I probably don't have the money now because it was a big, giant, expensive painting. But the idea was I couldn't get it out of my head, and we have paintings we can't get out of our heads. Some of them that we missed buying. And so we want to respond quickly, but you as an artist have to always be thinking about the after. You know, always assume that if you were in a special section, go back in the next issue if you can, and the next issue after that, because somebody's going to be, oh, I remember that painting, but I can't remember the artist. I don't know how to contact them. I don't even remember where I saw it. You know, surveys have been done. I've done them. People don't remember things correctly. So when I was in Salt Lake City, I owned a radio station. And we had a survey one time of advertisements and where people heard advertisements. And every person told us where they heard that advertisement, and every person was wrong because they just assumed they heard it on, you know, another radio station. Well, you know, they might assume that they saw it in another magazine or in People magazine, or you just never know. And people get things confused. So having something after, so in terms of selling events, planning the before, the during, and the after is critical. And that's really, after is where all the money is made. Everybody thinks it's, you know, new customers. It is getting new customers. It's keeping them, reselling them. But we'll talk about that another time. So some of the success factors, your brand has a huge impact on getting attendance. See, if you're a known brand, people are more likely to go out of their way. I mean, I've been invited to many hundreds of art shows. And, you know, sometimes we just get cozy at home and, you know, we're sitting at home, we're having a glass of wine, we're relaxed, and then your alarm goes off in your watch, and you had told yourself you're going to go to this art show tonight, and you're like, do I really want to do it? I'm comfy. And so sometimes you don't. But if there's something tugging at you, like if you knew, look, I got to go because Scott Christensen's going to be there and Scott Christensen's going to have some really unique paintings, and I know I want to have a chance to get one of them. It's the strength of your brand and your painting quality that has a huge impact on getting attendance. And so way before a show, you really need to be strengthening your brand. I think, a year or two before a show, most of us know about a show 2 years in advance, and we need to be planning our marketing now and really working on our branding. The other thing that's really important is scarcity and the importance of work. It matters a lot. So I went to an art show. I've told you about this before. If you've heard this, I went to an art show in Santa Barbara at a private home, and they made a sign on a piece of paper. They were numbered by the order we came in, and they said, if there's a dispute over any painting, the person that was here first will get it. And so everybody went in there and they just started scrambling around to see paintings, and they ended up buying it. Sold out the show in 15, 20 minutes. It was amazing. Scarcity, that's urgency. Scarcity is, look, there's only going to be one George Carlson painting in this auction or in this show. And everybody knows that George Carlson's a hero and everybody wants to own one, and they know it's going to be expensive, but they know it's going to go up in value and it's going to be really important to own. And so scarcity and the importance of the work. If you know that there's going to be a George Carlson painting and he's only going to put one in the show, and it's an important work. And so those are the kinds of things that really impact shows. The next thing is you want to begin your marketing a full year in advance. I think that I'm not talking about your branding. I'm talking about your marketing, and that can be part of it. But your branding is you need to have a branding campaign that you're doing, and I'll talk about that another time. But you're marketing a year in advance. So let's say that your show is in your hometown. What are you going to do in your hometown to build your visibility, make people more aware of you, so that when the show comes around, they're going to want to go to it? You've got to ask yourself, what are those specific things that I can do? You want to be seen everywhere for a year before the show. You want to be seen at all the charity events. You want to be the featured artist at all the charity events. You want to be seen on local television, local media, local websites, local newspapers. Yes, there are people who still read those. And so you want, local magazines. You want to be a featured artist. You've got a year to get it done. If you could time it, where let's say you sat down with the editor and you said, hey, I'm doing a show in a year from now in January. It would be really cool if we could do an article, in December about my show, so that it's what we call recency. And that is something that they've recently heard about. That can really work to your advantage. So be seen everywhere. The next thing is, I talked to you about that. There's stories about you in the media, not about your show. It's okay if the show is mentioned, but you want to build up your credibility as an artist. And so if you're having a national show, you want to be in national media. And that's, a lot of that can be ads, because ads can also have the same effect. Now, also, branding has a huge impact on getting attendance. The brand of the gallery, the brand of the event, but especially the brand of the artist. We already kind of talked about that. But visitors flock to the artists that they know of. If someone's going to a show, let's say it's a tent show, an art show in the streets, you want them to go directly to you. You want them to do not pass go, do not stop and collect $200. You want to go directly to that. You want them going directly to you, because if there's 150 booths, you go to the LA Art Show, for instance, 150, 200 booths. What are you going to do to get them to go directly to you, so that they know there's something they want to see, they're curious about, they want the urgency of getting there before somebody else buys it? That's what you want to do, is you want to have a way to get them in there. So you want to also arrange to be the featured artist in their ads and their posters. Like if, for instance, you can't always arrange this, but you can certainly work towards it. If, for instance, your gallery is going to be in a big art show, you might say to the gallery, listen, if you feature my painting in your ads for that show, I will give you a higher commission on that painting. Or you might just ask them to do it. They might just do it. Or you might look for some way to give them a good reason to do it. And of course, being the best painting in the show is a great way to do it. But the idea is you want to be featured. If people are seeing posters all over town for the tent show that's coming in, and there's a big picture of your painting on that, and it's got your name under it, and they go, wow, I need to see this painting by Eric Rhoads. People will go, they'll flock, and they'll look for that. Or if nothing else, they'll recognize it. You'll stand out. It will elevate your brand. It'll elevate your credibility. You'll be more known just because of that. Now, I think that ads are very powerful. Of course, I'm in the ad business, but I'm in the ad business because I believe in it. I know it works. If I'm in an art show, I went to the Austin Artist Studios in November, and they put out a book, and it's a book about the size, it's about an inch and a half thick. And the ones that had ads are the ones that I found myself visiting, because there were listings and little tiny icons of other things, but big pictures and the big ads. And those ads serve a purpose. You want to be, if there's a chance they could go to 250 studios, but they're only going to pick 6 of them, you got to be one of the 6 they pick. And that's why you want to be in the art show publication. And if you can have an incentive to visit you, stop by my booth and get a free print of my painting. It can be a postcard print or it can be something, but the idea is give them an incentive to visit you, because once you get them there, you have a big opportunity. Art shows also, you want to run. I did that. I must have duplicated that. I apologize. You also want to have a lead magnet at your booth. What a lead magnet is it's something that gives them an incentive to get your email. I call it mining for gold, mining for emails. Because if you have their email, then you have the ability to continue to communicate with them appropriately, of course. And so if you have a little sign up that says, I've got a free gift if you give me your email, and it doesn't have to be an expensive gift. By the way, if you get good qualified customers, it's okay to spend money on an expensive gift because sometimes it's worthwhile. But and that's a whole nother discussion for another time. But a lead magnet at your booth, now that's more of an art show, tent show kind of a thing. I don't think that makes sense. It might make sense at like an LA art show or something, but it certainly doesn't make sense in a gallery show. You want to have advance invitations to the art show. Don't assume that the art show is going to do their job and bring in the right people. What can you do? First off, you can go to the art show and you can say, I'd like to do a mailing to your list. Can I rent the list from you? They may or may not do it. And then you send out a postcard inviting them to your booth with a highlighted painting so that you're going to stand out. You send it to your list of people, and you might be able to buy a list. I know you can buy a list in your local community. For instance, I know I can buy a list of all the affluent people in any town and, all the affluent neighborhoods. They're real easy to figure that out. You can even buy a list from American Express, where you can buy a list from anybody in your town who spent money on an American Express card for art in your town. And even you can even pick specifics. Like if you wanted to pick a gallery, let's say I wanted to pick a gallery in LA and I knew that they were going to drive a lot of people to the LA art show, I can go to American Express, and if somebody bought from that gallery, now I'm paying a lot of money per name, but it's worth it. It's worth it if you do it right. So advance invitations. I also think that it's a really good idea to have a focal point piece, something that really draws attention, maybe creates controversy or gets people talking, because everybody they'll buzz about it. They'll want to come and see it. And if you can make that focal point piece, the poster piece as well, that's even going to be more to your advantage. Look for something that will really draw attention. Now, when you're advertising anything else, you're doing your branding and otherwise, you can say, look for me in the upcoming Los Angeles Art Show at the XYZ company booth. And so you want to make sure that you're driving it in every possible way. I'd even put it in your signature on your email, if it's for a year, that way you're kind of dropping little subtle drops to people. Now, I think that you also need email reminders to your audience, especially. You want to say, hey, it's coming up. So send them an email. Hey, a week from tomorrow, we're going to be at the so-and-so art show, and I'm going to be featured on booth number 10. Come by and see me. Here's some of the art that I'm going to put in the booth. Some of it's going to sell fast. And if you have any interest, contact me now. Then you want to do a reminder. Hey, by the way, remember last week I said we're going to do this art show? Well, it's tomorrow. I hope you can come. I'm going to send you another reminder tomorrow too. And then on the day of the show, Saturday, hey, today, I hope, in your plans, you'll come by, and, don't have to be too heavy. Just do that. The other thing you can do is we do this sometimes. We offer a calendar link. You can say, hey, just click this button. It'll automatically put it in your calendar to remind you. If they click the button, you don't even need to send them the other email because it's now popping up in their calendar. It can't hurt to send both though, right? All right. So I think, that's right. I got a couple more. Booth signage at your show needs to be memorable. Now, this really applies more to things like tent shows, but all the shows provide you a long, narrow, black and white, plain text that says, Eric Rhoads of, Austin, Texas. And that's boring. And so that everybody has that. What can you do to stand out? What can you do to make your signage memorable? I think that, when I used to train people for trade shows, I would train people how to make their trade shows more effective. I would say every trade show sign needs to say quickly what you do so they instantly get it. So it could say, Eric Rhoads, portrait artist, portrait commissions. We do portrait commissions. I don't like the word commissions, so that, we can do custom portraits of your family. Whatever it is, say what it is, even though it's there showing, don't expect them to get it. Tell them what it is. If you're in any kind of booth, tell them what it is. Because they need to know. It makes it easier for them. It makes you stand out. I also used to train people to do little things like put a bowl of candy halfway into your booth with, wrapped candy, Tootsie Rolls or something nice. And people will walk in and they usually will say, hey, could I have a piece of candy? Of course they can, but they feel obligated now to listen to you for a couple minutes. So the bigger the candy, the better the gift, the more obligated they feel. Now, you also want to stimulate memory of paintings that they love. If somebody comes to your booth, no matter what the booth is, first off, galleries typically have a card with the painting on it, and they'll say, hey, here's my card. It's got a picture of the painting on it. Here's how to contact me. Here's my mobile phone, etc. The best possible way, you could say, hey, you seem to like this painting. Let me take a picture of you with it. And then you say, give me your number. I'll text it to you. And that way, then you could say, hey, by the way, after you text it, by the way, do you want me to follow up with you if they haven't bought it? And then you can send them that picture again, say, hey, just a reminder, still available or whatever. Now, the other thing I like a photo card. I like a picture of the painting and a card telling about the painting next to the painting. And it says really big at the top, take a picture of this card. That way they remember, because you want them to remember you, their name. They may not buy anything, but it's got your website, it's got everything on it. You want to have something to stimulate memory. Get permission to follow up with people. Remember that interest fades the moment they leave. There's a lot of different theories. Do you want to be the first booth visited or the last booth visited? If somebody's coming to an art show for a specific purpose, they say, I got $250 in my pocket and I'm going to spend it on a birthday present, then you want to be first. If they're coming to be entertained by the show, then you want to be last. The problem is art shows have different entry points. And so sometimes having two booths in a show, you can also, in some shows, you can buy both, the middle aisle where you have a front and a back, which is really probably the best way to do it. Then you're getting double impressions. And, because their eyes are darting around everywhere. And so they might not even see you the first time, or the light might be different. The sun might be in their eyes. So, but you want to understand that if somebody leaves without buying, the likelihood of them ever buying is about 99% never buying. So if you can engage people and find a way to get them to buy now while they're in your booth, that's important. The second is while they're at the show. If they leave your booth, you have to say yourself, okay, how much more time do I have? 15 minutes, half an hour? Maybe it's just, by the way, a reminder text. Hey, by the way, I forgot to mention to you, and give them something, so don't be a pest. But sometimes, because I've gone to art shows, we've intended to buy something, we've seen something at an art show, we go to another booth, and then we can't even remember where it was. We go around looking for it, we can't remember, and then we get discouraged and we walk away. All right. You want to rekindle interest within 24 hours. If they do walk away, you've got, that it's going to fade fast. And so within 24 hours, at night, when you get done with a show, make sure you get those texts out or those emails out, those reminders out. It's a lot of work, but it's worth it. Advertising in local media should hit soon after the show, or, in media that relates to where they're going. If it's, even if it's like the Palm Beach Art Show or something, the idea would be you want to be seen by the people who are going to that as a reminder, because they don't remember your name. And that's the other point about this, is that just know that you may think they're going to remember your name. Unless they've heard your name 30 times, they probably don't remember it. And I have had this happen so many times. I meet so many people, I can't remember everybody's names all the time. And I'll go to a show and I'll say, I got to remember this artist. Sometimes I'll take a picture with my phone to remember, but you just can't assume they know your name. And I went to something recently, maybe back when we were allowed to go places. And I remember thinking, I remember seeing this. I think it was like it was a home show, and they had some product they sold that I wanted, and I didn't buy it, and I thought about it, and I wish I had. So I went to the home show website, and I couldn't remember their name, and I had to go through all the different vendors. I ultimately never found it. And that's another thing, is you want to make sure the products you're showing are on the website of the show, because people will go back. So make sure that you have ways to get them to remember your name. That little card next to a painting, most people say no photos. I would encourage photos. I would have a thing that says photo spot, take picture from here. And that way, and make sure your name and your website are really big in that, because if people are going to steal, they're going to steal anyway. What we used to do, I didn't steal it, but I wanted to take photos to remember things. I'd pose my wife in front of the booth, take her picture, but I wanted to get a picture of the painting. I did that with a Mark Maserat painting in Walnut Creek. I told him about it many years later, but I didn't copy his painting, but I just loved it so much, but I didn't have the money to buy it at the time. So anyway, let them take photos. So what? I mean, there are going to be people, who are going to be dishonest. And if your work's online, they're going to be dishonest there too. Anyway, I think it's best to get some sales training. Every artist that's selling in an in-person situation or selling over the phone really should read some sales books and learn how to capture buyers. Now, the questions that you ask will keep them engaged. The way you look them in the eye, the way you approach them. If you're too overbearing, it's going to have a negative, but if you're too under approached, it's not going to work for you. So get some sales training. Anyway, that is it. And that's all I got for you today. So let me see if I can turn this off. Anyway, I hope that's been helpful to you. I'm going to go to the comments real quickly and see what we got. Let's see. Diane Hutton says chilaquiles. I don't know what that is. Did I make a typo? I usually do. Somebody's been making notes of them. Okay, good. That's a good idea. Thank you guys for doing that. Sales training, yes, is number 23. So hopefully this has been helpful. If you guys have, is this all in my book, says Tamara. That particular one is in my book. I went into more detail in the book, but I gave you kind of an overview. So yeah, that's in my book. I pull a lot of these things out of my book, but a lot of these things I'm coming up with new and fresh ideas. If you guys have ideas that you want me to deal with, you have specific things. First off, I have a podcast called the Art Marketing Minute. Also, at the end of the plein air podcast, I do an Art Marketing Minute. It's the same podcast. I just divide it out so it has its own podcast. So I have big audiences on both. And I address specific marketing questions there. You can send me your questions. I can also address them on here. If you have something you want me to write about, like Andy Gonzalez says, I'm having eggs over easy with sausage and tortillas. Okay. So I'm not sure what that's about, but anyway, if you have specific things you want me, Linda Hufford says, I got lured into a candy shop yesterday. Yes, it's very tempting. Brenda says, I used to paint in my booth. People would come in to see what I was painting and talk about it. Absolutely a great idea, but put it somewhere where they can see you, but it draws them in. All right. So if you have any ideas, just send me a note. And Diane Hutton says, Dreamliners talk about food a lot. Dreamliners is a group that started because of these daily broadcasts, because they thought I was going to stop. They wanted to be together and communicate with each other. And so they started a group. It's called Dreamliners. The logo should be Streamline, and then it should be crossed out and say Dreamline. That's just my opinion. But anyway, it's a group that started because of this. And so you guys are always there. Thank you for your support. I want to remind you that comments will help you win prizes. We have the art marketing book and the easel brush clip, which I just happen to have here together. So you want to make sure that you make a comment for that. And if you're from outside of the country, make a comment where you are from. All right. Deborah Herbert is saying she has a live art sale Saturday on Instagram. That's cool. Deborah Herbert, that's cool. Thank you for that. And all right. How do we find Dreamliners? I want to join. Somebody will put an answer in that, but I think you just go search Dreamliners in Facebook, I'm guessing. So enjoy that. Thank you, guys. Again, I would remind you that if you've not signed up yet for Realism Live, you may want to do it because we had, as of yesterday, we already had 600 people signed up. And as you know, we have to buy packages for the streaming. You have to buy packages. I think it's 1,000 people at a time or something. So I don't know how many people we're going to get. We might get 1,000, or we might get 25,000. We just don't know. So right now it's a little early, but the price goes up August 30th. If you think you're going to do it, just go ahead and get in. Anyway, that's realism.live.com. And that's all I got today. Thank you for being there. Remember to keep your head in the game, stay positive, stay upbeat. Don't spend your time doom scrolling, and find time to do something that you absolutely love doing, something that makes you happy. I was thinking this morning, I'm on this beautiful lake. I'm looking at it, but I haven't been out. We had 2 little boys visit yesterday, and they said, we want to go in your boat. So I dropped everything, and I took them out in the boat, took them on a quick boat ride. I had to move it anyway, because they're doing some repair on the boathouse, and the stuff was going to fall on the boat. So I had to move it. Anyway, then that's what I love, being out on the boat. I want to get out on the canoe and the kayak, and I get out painting and by water and do some more stuff. So those are the things that make us have fun. Find something fun for you if you possibly can. I know some of you are stuck inside. Do something fun for yourself. If nothing else, put the music on and dance around like a fool. We were dancing like fools during the during Plein Air Live. I don't have any pictures of it here. I was just looking to see if I had any pictures of it, but I don't. But we had a lot of fun. We had the Plein Air Live dancers. We probably will have the Realism Live dancers, so have them come back. Okay, thanks for your time today, and have a terrific day. And I'm Eric Rhoads, publisher of Plein Air Magazine and Fine Art Connoisseur. We will see you tomorrow. Bye.